So, Johan, imagine this. You're a CFO of a growing business, and you got 20 different bank accounts across 7 countries. Every morning, you're downloading bank statements from 17 different portals, trying to figure out where your money is, when you'll get paid, and whether you can make payroll next week.
And then you're doing all of this in Spreadsheets.
In Spreadsheets in 2025.
This is not a hypothetical scenario, by the way. This is actually happening right now to thousands of CFOs around the world.
So this week on the $1 Trillion Opportunity, we're talking about how startups are dragging business finance out of the spreadsheet age and catapulting their financial operations into the future.
I'm Johan Bossini.
And I'm Shannon Austin, and this is the $1 Trillion Opportunity. So, Johan, let's back up a little bit. I have a question that might sound obvious, but what do you think a CFO actually does all day?
Well, if you asked most people, they'd probably say something about counting money, managing budgets, that sort of thing.
But here's what I learned talking to a couple of founders. A lot of CFOs are bogged down by data. They're not even strategizing about the future of their businesses. They're just trying to figure out what happened yesterday.
I jokingly say that there has to be a better way than Excel spreadsheets. And a lot of finance folk and CFOs still use spreadsheets today. And I almost fall off my chair when, there's a large enterprise and I ask the question, how do you manage your finance? And they say, through spreadsheets, of course.
That's David Hanna. He's the CEO of a company called Finmo, and he's spent the last 20 years putting out what he calls regulatory fires at big companies like PayPal.
And David's not exaggerating about the spreadsheets. We're talking about companies with millions of dollars in revenue, operating across multiple countries, and they're managing their cash flow in Excel.
But here's the thing that really struck me when we talked to David. This isn't just about inefficiency. This is about CFOs really missing their moment to be strategic partners to the CEOs of these businesses.
I think the CFO definitely wants and has a seat at the top table. I think that strategic mindset is embedded into what they do. So as they get into that role, it's actually about making decisions with, less data, more insight so that they can move faster.
Less data, more insight. That's a great way to put it.
And David has this personal way of thinking about the problem that really stuck with me.
I actually liken it to my own situation, right? And on a personal level, maybe a tongue-in-cheek sort of joke, but I never know how poor I am on any one day, right? My kids are spending my money. I have mortgages. I have, I have rental payments coming out for various things. I wish on a personal level I could understand my aggregated position and hopefully minimize the negative in front of that aggregated position.
If you extrapolate that to mid-level corporations operating around the world with different currencies, different organizations spread out across various regions,
the complexity goes through the roof. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I've seen in various sort of studies that have taken place is, the CFO is really keen to kind of almost elevate themselves into, the CEO seat, right, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, they are the right-hand person of the CEO. And, the CEO needs to make these strategic decisions, quicker and quicker.
Right. And this problem isn't limited to one region. Let's go to the Middle East, where we find another founder tackling a different piece of this puzzle.
In our region, our MENA region, from 30 up to even 120 days delays are considered normal in this region. Normal doesn't make it okay. Hello, my name is John Santillan.
John is CEO of a company called Okta, not the identity management company. This Okta is focused on treasury management and, in particular, accounts receivable.
And when John says delays, he's talking about how long it takes businesses to actually get paid after they send an invoice.
120 days, 4 months. Imagine if your employer said to you, we'll pay you, but maybe in 4 months.
Before Okta, you're probably spending between 15 to 20 hours just to collate information. You're probably using out-of-date spreadsheet. You're chasing payments over email or WhatsApp or Viber or SMS or phone call, and each one of these have actually sits different communication.
So you've got the CFO juggling spreadsheets for cash management and then spending 15, 20 hours a week just trying to collect money that's already owed to them.
And John learned this the hard way.
I've also experienced it from my previous company. We have these big names or big customer clients. And if you look at it on paper, Shannon, it looks like we are, the company is flying and it's singing and dancing. But when the payroll week comes, before even payments did, it becomes a problem. I'll never forget that one experience when I built that company previously, that in one point in time, we were owed more than enough to cover everything, but 80% of those payments was really late. That's when I realized this is not really a finance problem. This is more a business problem. It's a founder survival problem.
A founder survival problem. And this isn't just happening in one or two companies. John told us he spoke to more than 200 companies to validate this idea.
All of them said the same thing, right? Getting paid shouldn't be this hard.
So there's this massive disconnect. You have businesses with good customers, solid revenue streams on paper, and yet they can't access their own money. And he also told us this story about his background that really explains his perspective.
My parents, my mom and my dad, she taught me, how to become resilient. And then my dad actually taught me how to become resourcefulness, which I believe it's an essential to become, to being a founder these days. When I was growing up, I would always want to be an astronaut or either a pilot, because I always feel like this big picture view of the future or of the things in front of me.
That big picture view definitely comes through in how he thinks about the receivables problem. And this brings us back to David's world, where he's seeing this from the treasury management side.
There's always been a crunch situation where the CFO hasn't had access to liquidity when they need it.
Right.
There could be a restricted currency component or what have you. Strategically making decisions faster. As one of the members on the board, from a regulatory perspective, would always kind of view the CFO as that lagging kind of indicator of oh, yes, the board asked the question and they go to their spreadsheet and they sort of try and figure out the answer.
Painful.
Versus actually seeing, I think in more recent times, insight being brought to the board table.
So we have two different companies attacking this problem from very different angles. Finmo is building what David calls the modern command center for finance professionals.
And Okta is using AI to automate the collections process and providing working capital financing.
Let's return to Finmo. David's company has what he calls a modular approach. And in it, there are 4 key modules.
So one is sort of money movement, which is, as you can expect, the traditional payments piece of being integrated into the various banking infrastructure around the world. The second module is, what we call cash management, which is really, I think, where the value starts escalating for the, modern CFO. And the reason for that is that's where we connect their bank accounts into our platform, right? So if you think of a day where the CFO is rocking up, having his or her coffee at 9 o'clock, they're downloading, 20 different bank statements from 20 different portals and manipulating the data and figuring it out, it takes an inefficient amount of time. What we do is we connect your global bank in, your local bank, your 20 bank accounts. You see an aggregated balance and you can do downstream activity.
The third module is foreign exchange, helping companies hedge their currency risk 30, 60, even 90 days out. And the fourth is integrations with their existing accounting software.
But here, Shannon, is where it gets interesting. Underpinning all of this is something called Mo.
Mo has been learning the Finmo platform for the last 18 months. And really what Mo does is, instead of the CFO reacting to a crunch or a working capital issue or a liquidity issue or an FX issue, Mo actually proactively prompts the CFO as to what they need to focus on for the day.
It's like having a finance co-pilot that learns your patterns and tells you what to do next. But you're careful about this, right? You don't want Mo just moving money around.
The way that we've leveraged it is really kind of being your finance co-pilot, right? Is how we sort of think about it. So the reality is that, exactly as you say, if I'm learning your behavior because you're running a payroll, you're doing FX transactions on a regular basis, you're reconciling your PO to your invoicing at this particular time, you're seeing an inflow of different currencies at different points of time, then the one thing that AI can do is like predict these behaviors and proactively prompt you for issues that it sees.
And David is very thoughtful about this approach. He doesn't want Mo making financial decisions entirely automatically.
We don't want Mo tackling money movement problems right off the bat.
Right. Yeah.
And automating who you pay and how you pay. We want Mo to really proactively give you insight and alert and notifications promptly. But ultimately for the command center to be, to be run by the CFO and finance team.
Right.
So there's those checks and balances as they execute on some of these automated workflows.
No robots writing checks, basically. And there's a reason for that caution. David's super exciting regulatory background.
And maybe this is the regulatory guy in me coming out, but we have, taken a very safe, slow sort of approach.
Meanwhile, over at Okta, John is attacking the collections problem with a different kind of AI approach.
We combine the automation using AI modern technology. So we call this like context aware. So because we have this information, we understand and suggest what would be the best way to treat a particular reminder to your customer.
So instead of those generic "your payment is overdue" emails or letters that you get in the mail, the AI actually figures out, should we text this person? Should we call them? Should we email them? What tone should we use?
We suggest that X invoices or X company that you are collecting your payments with is the best way to collect that is to nudge them using a specific channel with a specific type of personalization in messaging.
And it's learning constantly. If someone always pays after a phone call but ignores emails, the system learns that pattern.
And John's approach goes beyond just collections. They also provide working capital financing.
Be able to give them access to capital while we're waiting for their invoice payments to come in. Because we have access to data and we can see the effectiveness of the data, we're able to actually finance those receivables. And that allows them to basically access that and use that to grow their business.
So does this actually work? Let's start with a story from John about a logistics company.
It's a logistic company that was waiting between 90 to 120 days for them to get paid. And again, if you look at on paper, they had millions in receivables, but in reality, they were basically cash strapped and they're having difficulty to pay their team.
So they had the work, they had the revenue on paper, but they couldn't grow because they couldn't access their own money.
When we onboarded them into the platform, we set up the follow-ups. It went out instantly and automatically as well. And reminder hit email along with the WhatsApp and SMS and voice, depending on the escalation process. And within 3 months, their payment time dropped from over 90 days to 30 days. That's number one. Number two is actually they get access to the capital quickly. So this basically allows them to double their active contracts or get new contracts without even raising capital.
That's not just an efficiency gain. That's economic growth unlocked.
And the numbers that John and his teammates are dealing with are staggering.
In the Middle East, MENA region, there is $210 billion in SME financing gap. And for the late payment, it's about 40 billion late SME payments in our region.
$40 billion, as we say, billion with a B, in late payments. That's money that businesses have actually earned, that they're owed, but they can't access it.
Meanwhile, David is seeing a similar transformation on the treasury side.
We're a break-even company now.
Amazing.
We
Wow.
broke even actually 3 years in.
Yeah.
The reality is we keep cash flow positive. We raised, Series A recently, got backed by PayPal Ventures, Citi Ventures.
But more importantly, their customers are seeing that hero moment that David talked about.
Constant sort of feedback we get is that it's a very technology-driven platform and, fresh in terms of the thinking around, frankly speaking, we're getting a lot of feedback on kind of Mo, right? And
That's great.
its usefulness in terms of the insight that, he's driving, looking over each of the client data and proactively, representing different opportunities for our clients.
And David has expanded Finmo globally. They now have licenses in 7 countries.
We're headquartered in Singapore from a major payment institution perspective. We're in Australia, New Zealand, UK as an EMI. We've just got our IPA in Dubai.
Amazing. Wow.
We're headed to Hong Kong, Europe. We're in Canada. We're actually already in the US.
That global expansion speaks to just how universal this problem really is. But I want to go back to something John told us about his approach to working capital financing and the platform he's building at Okta. There's a trust element here that is really crucial.
The first step that we did is to make sure that we certify the company. So we are certified with SOC 2 from the security side, compliance. We are also certified locally between UAE and Saudi Arabia, which is the PDPL, meaning it allows us to store the data only locally and not outside the country.
And whenever they do anything within the platform, they always ask permission.
Whenever we execute things within the platform from the automation side, we always ask permission to our customer, whether they would like to pass that information to the financier. I.e., for example, a company, we could finance them an X amount of capital. If they approve that one, we pass those information before we even give it to the financier to finance that receivables.
So it's not just about the technology. It's about building trust from day one.
And David has a thoughtful approach. He's focused on what he calls the Finmo spirit.
I haven't really thought in terms of what's the end goal and is it like to IPO, is it to do X, Y, and Z? To be quite honest with you, I just want to build something that our Finmonauts can be proud of and, our founders can be proud of and, I can be proud of. And we're making a dent in the world because there doesn't exist something that is like Finmo in Asia. What we've decided to do is go the harder path. Choose a region that doesn't exist, go one by one in terms of banking connectivity, and really solve that real challenge.
Okay, so let's zoom out and think about what this means for the broader economy. We have these two companies attacking different pieces of the same fundamental problem.
Which is why most businesses are stuck in the financial stone age, spending enormous amounts of time on manual processes instead of growing their business.
David operates in what he describes as a multi-billion-dollar opportunity just in Southeast Asia.
The size of the opportunity is huge, right? I mean, it's a multi-billion opportunity for B2B kind of payments. And, that's just in Southeast Asia. I mean, it's in the trillions globally. We haven't even touched the surface in terms of that multi-billion sort of opportunity just in Southeast Asia, right? And I'm talking hundreds of billions.
And both founders are seeing validation in an interesting way: competition.
We're now seeing probably over the last 12 months, every other traditional payment player now call themselves either a modern, operating system or modern finance OS or what have you.
Yeah.
And we feel flattered about that because I think for us, we were relatively early in Asia in creating kind of that philosophy and the way that we want to weave together the treasury kind of modules.
There's something poetic about using artificial intelligence to give human business owners more time to be human, to focus on relationships, strategy, growth.
Instead of spending 20 hours a week chasing payments or updating spreadsheets.
And both of these founders came to this through personal experience. David spent 20 years putting out regulatory fires, and John experienced the cash flow crunch firsthand in his previous startup.
Which maybe explains why their solutions feel so practical, so focused on the real pain points. David shared this insight about the future of finance and technology.
Money and tech is kind of what most people are focused on, whether it be, the AI capability, how do we make things more efficient for people to earn a living and so on and so forth. And so I think that's kind of where my interest lies.
So where does this leave us? We have these two companies using AI and modern technology to solve some very old problems.
And both of them have this vision of CFOs becoming more strategic, spending less time on manual processes and more time thinking about the future.
Making the CFO become a bit more modern and a bit more front office rather than back office is how we sort of describe it. Is almost like the modern command center for finance professionals, where they can connect banking infrastructure, they can command it, they can control, and they can, challenge the thinking because they have better insight.
And for John, it's about giving business owners their time back.
What we would like them to take in the best case scenario is that it means that they can, focus on what they're good at, which is growing their business, and forget about, when are they going to get paid? Because Okta basically helps them from end to end to solve that pain point and making sure that there's always money in the bank. We are giving the business owners their time back, their cash flow, and of course, their sanity back.
Their sanity back. In a world where business owners are losing sleep over cash flow, that might be the most valuable thing of all.
Indeed. And what's remarkable is how both companies are tackling this not just as a technology problem, but as a very human problem. So they're not just building software, they're changing how people think about money, credit, and business growth.
And Shannon, the results speak for themselves. John's logistics company that went from a 120-day payment cycle to 30 days. David's customers who can now see the global cash position in real time instead of downloading 20 different bank statements every morning. It really is impactful.
And these aren't just efficiency gains when you think about it. These are businesses unlocked to grow, entrepreneurs who can sleep at night, and CFOs who can be strategic partners instead of freaks in the sheets. So that's our show for this week. The $1 Trillion Opportunity is produced by Quona and Pod People. Our producers are Danielle Roth, Julie Bilevsky, and Hannah Pedersen. Erica Huang edited this episode. Special thanks to my hero, Rachel King and Amy Machado.
And special thanks to David Hanna from Finmo and John Santillan from Okta for sharing their stories with us today.
And if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to The $1 Trillion Opportunity wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you're a CFO still using spreadsheets to manage your global cash flow,
maybe it's time for an upgrade.